Do you believe it's already week 6, from Coach Gannon's fine to Flacco's trade and a new starting gig in Cincy? We're breaking down the hottest headlines around the NFL. This is the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice, and it starts right now. Welcome to the Coach's Cut. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Let's meet the star of the show. Playing tight end in the NFL for 14 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, Washington Redskins, and the Minnesota Vikings. This 6'8" former college quarterback went on to become the tight end and offensive line coach for 5 different franchises, eventually becoming the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. He is the one, the only Mike Tice. You look like a cowboy today, Coach. I like the jacket.
I should have worn my cowboy hat.
You got a different hat. You're going to be showing us a little later, though.
A little bit later.
Okay, well, let's start with some Jimmies and Joes. So the big news right now, the Arizona Cardinals, they fined head coach Jonathan Gannon $100,000 for a sideline interaction with running back Emari Demercado. Now, Demercado had dropped the ball just before reaching the goal line, nixing a 72-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter, costing his team the win. So, Coach, first of all, did anything like this ever happen to you?
Well, as far as putting my hands on a player?
Yes.
Yes. One time, Mike, we were playing Green Bay on national TV, and one of my big linemen that I raised, Dave Dixon, bigger than me, 6'7", 350 pounds, made a mistake, a critical mistake in the red zone. And when he came off the field, I threw a forearm into the front of his shoulder pads. I did not get fined, but I did get a pretty stern letter from the league. And, you know, it's very tough for Gannon. You know, we don't know what was being said. We don't know the body language of Demercado at that point.
Right.
I tried to look at the video a number of times. I saw an open hand shot to the front of the shoulder pads, like he was trying to, get him out of his funk. I was trying to tell him, hey, toughen up, get your head out of your butt, let's go. It's been all over social media about, can't put your hands on a player. I look at this as a gladiator sport. There's a lot of tension out there. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of emotion. It was a tough situation for Gannon to be in, but he got fined and they moved forward.
Yeah, a little scruff on the sideline circulating on social media. So do you think the $100,000 fine is justified?
I think it's a little steep. I've been fined by the league before. It's noted, but I just thought it was a little steep. But they wanted to move on. They made the fine. They move on. They're down 2 running backs. They lost a tough game at the end with some wild fumble. It's just a shame because at that point in the game, it would have been 28-6 in the fourth quarter, and all of that mumbo jumbo ball on the ground at the end of the game wouldn't have mattered.
And how would you handle this as a head coach? Because just the week before, we see, the Colts with A.D. Mitchell do the same thing, makes a tremendous grab, about to enter the end zone, and he fumbles the ball. So this is, I don't know if it's a trend, but it's definitely a consideration that coaches have to think about with players. How would you handle this as a head coach if that happened?
Yeah, I looked that up on the internet. It looked like there were about 6 times this has happened over, say, the last number of years. Not a lot of years, over the last number of years, 4 or 6 years. And I would say it like this, look, finish every single play to the echo of the whistle. Every point is crucial. Every point is critical. Possessing the football at the end of the play is critical to success. And then learn from this and move forward.
Do you think as a coach, tough love is the best thing to do with a player like that? Or do you really just try to understand where he's coming from and be a little bit more gentle?
I don't know that I could ever be gentle. I don't know that I would put at 6'8", 300 and whatever pounds I am, I would put my hands on a guy that's smaller than me. Yeah. And that's probably why Dave Dixon, who's bigger than me, after I did put my hands on him, I think I covered myself up waiting to get struck. Okay. But no, not to make a joke of it, not to make light of it. It's a tough situation. There's some things to be learned from that. Hopefully coaches across the league are pointing this out to their players that, finish the plays, get through the end line, make the score, do it. You're allowed to celebrate now. Celebrate after you score. Don't celebrate before
and
you
you
score.
always say it's a gladiator sport. It's high emotions, and
is.
it's not like working as an accountant at Merrill Lynch and you put your hands on somebody. It's different.
Mike,
it's football.
Mike, come on, it's totally different. It is a gladiator sport. There's a lot of contact. There's a lot of shoving. I mean, just look at Harbaugh. He hits his quarterbacks harder than that, and I know it's a different context, but he hits his quarterbacks harder than that before the game's on the shoulder pads. They're gladiators. They're in pads. They're in full gear. It's a shame that it's blown up so bad, but hopefully this week the Cardinals can come back and win a game and put it behind them.
You have full permission to do that to me after the show. I'm just letting you know. All right, so let's reflect a bit, because to me there was two fascinating games in Week 5. The Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. They each entered the week as the last two remaining undefeated teams, and both teams ended up losing those games, dropping to 4-1. Is it better, Coach, for a team that's a Super Bowl contender? You know how they sometimes say, well, I don't know, maybe it's better to not pull out the win because you can learn more from a loss. How do you feel about it? And now the Eagles, dropping another on Thursday night, 2 losses in 5 days. It doesn't look good. So what's your take?
Well, first of all, winning preferred. You don't ever want to lose and say, well, that was good for us. Well, losing's never good for you, but there are lessons to be learned. In 1998, we won 7 straight games. We lost to Tampa Bay. We won our final 8, and we went 15-1. Unfortunately, we lost in the championship game to the Atlanta Falcons. But there are some lessons to be learned from it. Sometimes when you're on that winning streak, some small details are not covered, even by the coaches, because you're saying, all right, we're rolling right now, let's not worry about that. I think it's a good time to go back and look at all of the small details of the assignments, make sure that everything is covered, and then move forward that way. But for the Philadelphia Eagles, they come out, like you said, Thursday night and don't take care of business, so they have some soul searching to do. I think with Buffalo, Mike, it's a little bit easier. They lost the game and they were -2 in the turnover ratio.
All right, Coach, good stuff there. We're just getting started. Coming up next, after a quick break, a Hall of Famer joins the show, joining Coach Tice in conversation with legendary Rod Woodson. That's next.
Well, I have the pleasure this week to be joined by a Hall of Famer in 2009, NFL Hall of Famer, of course. NFL record, 32 fumbles recovered, which is unfathomable. NFL record, 12 interceptions returned for touchdowns. NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1993. This list goes on and on and on. 71 career interceptions, which is the 3rd most all-time. 6-time first-team All-Pro, and not to leave it out, a Super Bowl champion with the Ravens. My man, Rod Woodson. How you doing, Rod?
What's up, Coach? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm just trying to stay busy.
Ain't that right?
You stay busy, you stay young.
That's right.
So I'm glad you're coming on to chop it up with me. As we talked previous, I'm going to ask you about your teams and get a little update what you think's going on with your former teams. Not all of them. I don't want to talk about the 49ers, but I want to talk about the Steelers, obviously. I want to talk about the Ravens, which you are still doing the color on the radio for the Ravens. And I want to talk about the Raiders, which I got my thumb on the Raiders because, like you, I live here in Vegas. So I'm going to start with the team that, when I think of Rod Woodson, I think of the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're off to a great start, Rod. They're 3-1. They're number 2 in the league in turnover differential of +7, which I make a big deal of on our show every week in our final segment. The defense has 14 sacks, 4 interceptions. They're 8th in the league in red zone scoring touchdowns. They haven't turned it over a lot. They're not killing it in any statistical category, but they're winning, and that's all that counts. What do you see, Rod, that you like about the Steelers at this point after 4 games, and maybe some things you don't like?
Well, the key to it is they're protecting Aaron Rodgers, right? And Aaron Rodgers Listen, Aaron Rodgers, when he's 60 years old, which is another 8 years, 9 years, that's what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
But but when he's 60 years old, he's gonna be able to get out of the bed. He's gonna be able to throw the football 50 yards down the field on a dart. I mean, he can just throw the. He has a natural gift of just throwing the football. They're protecting him. You got DJ Metcalf, a big physical receiver that can make plays for you, and he normally takes care of the football throughout his whole career. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions yearly, for whatever team he's playing for. So that's the first thing. And secondly, when you have a guy like that, he reads the defense. It's not a defense that he hasn't seen. So he's not going to be surprised by what the front looks like or what they're doing on the back end. He doesn't let that stuff bother him. He's still going to look down on the field. He doesn't run around as much as he used to.
Right.
But he can slide in and out of the pocket. He can climb back up in the pocket, climb back the other way. He can find his open receivers. And then when you look at the defensive side, I mean, do they have the best pass rusher in all of football in TJ Watt? I mean, he's been chipped 62 times already this year. They've already played 4 games.
I know, that's unbelievable. Yeah.
But you have to know where he's at. And I like Highsmith too. I like Highsmith on the other side. They can get after the quarterback. Hayward, kind of the monster in the middle who stops the run and can get pressure and a lot of batted balls. They have different pieces to the puzzle. Now they brought some guys in, and Jalen Ramsey and Big Play Slay. Those guys got to keep working together on the back end. That's probably the only thing that I don't like yet.
Right.
About the Steelers is that their back end coverage their communication is probably a little lacking, but I think as they play, obviously, Coach, there's nobody plays in a preseason anymore like we used to play.
Right.
And get those reps that you need. Now, once the season starts, you're getting your reps in. And I think they'll get better as the season goes on, I would think.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear you talk about like we did and playing in the preseason. I mentioned last week about the lack of training camp and that preparation and building that foundation. I think has caused teams to start slow, but not only that, caused some injuries that shouldn't be out there right now. So, but that's a whole nother conversation.
You are right about that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear you reiterate that. So that's great. I'm really high, and I'm a big fan of Mike Tomlin's as well. And I think the marriage between Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers right now is a good one.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I had the Steelers as my dark horse team. If Aaron comes in, they can protect Aaron. They can run the football. Obviously, play action pass. The defense that they can gel together. I knew they were going to have a good pass rush, just with the fact of having TJ and Highsmith on the edges. But if they can all gel together, it's and plus this year, the AFC North is down. So the other teams we're going to talk about, one of the other teams we're going to talk about, the Ravens, who I thought had the best roster in football, is not playing like it, especially defensively.
5 number 1 picks in the secondary. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So let's talk about the Ravens. Let's segue over to that. They're off to a bit of a tough start, 1-4. My friend Todd Monk is the offensive coordinator. I feel for him right now. The defense, Rod, 31st in passing yards allowed, giving up the second most passing touchdowns at 8, ironically tied with the other team we're going to talk about, the Raiders.
Right.
They're 30th in rushing TDs, giving up 8 rushing TDs. So that's the second most in the league. So it's not 30th, it's 31st in the league in rushing TDs. Is there any chance the Ravens can right the ship? And if it's looking rough. If so, what's it going to take? You're there on the spot. I know you got to be careful, but I mean it is what it is. Your film is as we always said. Your film is your resume, and the film right now doesn't look so good.
Yeah, I mean it's when you look offensively, they're scoring. I think I like Todd a lot. He has arguably the best player in football, Lamar Jackson, at the quarterback helm. I mean, he's not playing right now. So, Lamar Jackson and Cooper Rush, I mean, they're polar opposite of players.
Right.
And you could see that not having him in there, and they do have Tyler Huntley, coach sitting there as a number 3 guy. So, I mean, I would suggest maybe putting a package in for Tyler Huntley so they can still run the zone reads and the RPOs, all the stuff that they normally run with Lamar. But offensively, I'm not worried about the offense because I think they're going to score against any defense that they play against normally. I mean, obviously, every team has its ups and flows in some games. So I'm not worried about that. It is the defense.
Thanks to Rod for coming on the show, and to watch the full interview with Rod Woodson, go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports.
All right, after the break, Coach Tice is giving us the 3 keys to victory for the Raiders versus the Titans. All right, welcome back to the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice. Mike Davis here with you. So let's say it straight, Coach. Last Sunday was ugly, okay? There's no other way to put it. The Raiders get blown out by the Colts 40-6. What did you see in that game, and why did it get so ugly?
Well, Mike, we've been talking about it every week, and it's getting way over repetitious. Now it's getting to be annoying, but we said stop the run and run the football. They stopped the run okay, and actually for losing that poorly, by that many points, having 25 rushes for 106 yards is not that bad a day. So I'm not going to beat them up there. But we did say, and we say it every week, win the turnover battle. They were -2 again, so now they're -6 for the season, Mike. And the Jets are -8, and they haven't won a game. That's awful, all right? Special teams, we talked about special teams execution. Well, we had a return for a touchdown. The Raiders had a return for a touchdown against them. Fortunately, there was a holding call. Their punter gets hurt on a block punt.
Right.
And they're 30th in the league in punt coverage and kickoff coverage. So we gotta, the Raiders have to sew up the special teams. I'm retired. I don't have to do anything. And the game records, we talked about Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman. They all scored touchdowns, including the 3 rushing touchdowns by Jonathan Taylor. So not good, Mike.
Yeah, not a lot of good stuff to say. Let me ask you this, though, because another show I host here, Sound Off Sports, had a strong reaction from Raiders fans, many calling for the benching of quarterback Geno Smith. What would you do as a head coach in that situation?
Well, let's say this. Cincinnati Bengals, Browning goes in there, he's turned the ball over. They trade for Joe Flacco. Okay, now that's a little extreme, but the Raiders do have a quarterback on the bench, Kenny Pickett, that if this quarterback continues to turn the football over, at some point there has to be a change made.
Okay, even with the $75 million contract, we'll see what happens. Now, the Raiders are back at Allegiant Stadium facing the 1-4 Titans this Sunday. What are the 3 things the Raiders need to do to win this one?
Well, first and foremost, they got to eliminate turnovers. They have to maintain possession of the football. It just cannot continue to happen. They're not going to win. Their special teams needs to be special, and it hasn't been special. They need to sew up that kicking game. They need to eliminate those returns, and they certainly have to protect the punter and the kicker. Ashton Genty, I don't care if they hand it off to him or throw it to him, he needs 30-plus catches. He's arguably the best player on the field, with Brock Bowers not being at 100% right now. But if you get Brock going and he gets healthy, and if you continue to hand the ball to this young man, good things will happen.
All right, 3 great tips there. Don't go anywhere. It's Odds and Ends when we return. All right, welcome back to the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice. So it's time for Odds and Ends. And, Coach, let's start with your baby, the turnover differential. What's the update?
Well, things haven't changed too much, Mike. Week 5, those teams that were +1 or better went 10-3, as you see by the graphic there. Our best teams, the Jaguars 4-1 at +8. The Steelers, who we've been talking about all show, are 3-1 at +7. The Lions, who have the big game this week against the Chiefs, are +6. And their record's 4-1. The Bears, the Colts are 4-1. But the Saints are that anomaly, a 1-4 team. 2 weeks ago, they beat the Giants and create 5 turnovers. Those teams are 18-10. So it's a little bit skewed by the Saints being there at 1-4. Teams, though, that are +2 or better, Mike, are 28-15 for the season. And here's the thing the Raiders need to pay attention to. Teams that are -4 or worse are 6 24.
Wow. All right. So it's basic stuff. Turnover differential is the most important
Hang
thing.
on to that ball, baby.
100%. Now, through 5 weeks, Coach, it seems like you can't even get up to go to the bathroom during these games. That's what you say, because they're super close. It feels like each and every week it's going down to the last minute, the last play. So what's going on with that?
Well, like Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. But 17 games have been decided through 5 weeks in the last minute of the game.
Wow.
Mike, that's the most since the merger in 1970. So make sure you have 2 beers next to you and not 1 beer. Make sure you have 2 glasses of Pinot Grigio and not 1 glass, because anything can happen late in those games, Mike. Just look at last week, Mike. 6 games were decided in the last minutes.
Okay, so crazy. Last thing here. So 40-year-old Joe Flacco traded this week from Cleveland to Cincinnati. After just 6 days, he's already set to start at Lambeau on Sunday. How does a coaching staff get a guy like Flacco ready to start, up to speed, the same week he's traded?
Well, they can't put the whole offense in, I don't think, but you never know. I looked to see if there were any similarities in the coaches he's worked for because of the language, because of how they're calling the plays. I didn't really find anything that stood out. But this guy's played a lot of ball for a lot of teams. He's an excellent pro. He's smart. And I think he'll be able to adjust to the language that Zach Taylor's going to use for their offense. There's only so many route combinations, Mike, and there's only so many runs. So I think they'll adapt. We'll see what happens, but he's like everyone else. He can go in there, can't turn the damn ball over.
All right, good luck to Audubon Joe. That's it for this edition of the Coach's Cut with Mike Tice. For Coach, producer James, and our editor Jess, I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us. And go Mariners, Coach.
Go Mariners!
I like the Big Dumper. That's my favorite nickname ever.